House fire. Crews are battling this house fire. These are live pictures courtesy of Skyfox. This is on North Delfern Drive. For those of you watching locally and you know where this is, look at the size of this home. Now, crews say the fire was found in the attic. So far, no reports of injuries. More resources are being added to assist with access, and this is all slowed down because of the home's heavy construction. Approximately 100 personnel are now working on the scene of this, what's being called a greater alarm incident. One chimney has already partially collapsed, so the crews, they have stationed themselves on the roof. You see with the hose there, and then you see the active flames below, down below, and then we just saw the crews making their way up there via ladder. A massive home that is currently, partially anyway, engulfed in flames. This home in Beverly Crest, and look at the yard and the pool. What a beautiful property. So we'll continue to keep a watch on this. Again, no injuries to speak of, and we'll update you as we get some new information. Thanks for those live pictures to Skyfox there. Okay, on to this, and this is obviously what most of us are thinking about anyway. The clock is ticking on President Trump's historic threat to kill, quote, a whole civilization tonight. The president giving Iran until 5 p.m. Pacific to reach a deal and open the Strait of Hormuz, threatening initially to destroy the country's power plants and bridges. And then today, the president took it a step further. He posted this on his Truth Social. It says, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. Excuse me, 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. Now, the president, as mentioned, he set a deadline for Iran to respond by 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. our time. For more on this, let's bring into the conversation UCLA research fellow and political scientist, Professor Benjamin Rad. You've been with us before on the Fox Local Stream. Thanks so much for hopping on this afternoon. Let me just get your thoughts. What do you make of this threat? Is this bluster or believable?
A little bit of both. I think this is a president who's carried out on threats that he's made on his social media posts and comments to the press and to the public. At the same time, it does cross the threshold, a threat to destroy an entire civilization. I mean, that's rhetoric we have not heard from him. I'm going to maintain, I'm not even sure he understands what he's saying. I wonder if when he meant civilization, he meant civil infrastructure, never to return. It echoes what he said in his press conference yesterday about destroying the infrastructure to the extent that it'll take them years to rebuild or completely decimate. Just like he thought incursion and excursion might have meant the same thing. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of that and assume the best possible interpretation of what he posted, because to read it literally is very, I think, disturbing for anybody, where you sit on this conflict and what your positions are. So that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, here's his post, mind you, on Easter Sunday. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. He used an expletive, the Strait of Hormuz. You crazy, another expletive, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. So that's what kicked this all off on Easter Sunday, again, of all mornings, Easter Sunday morning. That was it. And then today, Tuesday, day of the deadline, he doubles down essentially. And you're essentially, Professor Rad, you're giving him the benefit of the doubt there, right? With the whole civilization or whole civilian infrastructure.
Yeah, I think what he does, this is rhetoric to match the bluster and rhetoric that oftentimes comes from that part of the world.
Host Mike Page, thanks again for joining us. We are keeping an eye on the White House as President Trump telling Fox News that he's in the midst of heated negotiations with Iran. And we have been seeing that countdown continue less than 2 hours away, and has been briefed on a proposal from Pakistan to
that there's disagreement on and bring the war to a swift end.
Let me ask you this. If the 5 p.m. deadline comes without action, what does this mean for the U.S. reputation? If the 5 p.m. deadline comes and he goes through with it, what does this mean for the U.S.'s reputation?
So he's boxed himself in. I think one of two things will have to happen. Either he's going to announce that Iran has asked for an extension to the deadline. Whether or not Iran actually doesn't matter. He'll make that statement, delaying this another 24 to 48 hours, if not longer, and hoping for some other breakthrough, or for people to just forget that that post was made. Or secondly, if he can't do that, if he opts to not do that, to carry out the threat, but in a much more limited way, saying he's initially going to start with, let's say, a power facility in this part of Iran or in this part of Tehran, or a water facility, some other utility elsewhere, right? Starting with lower stakes targets and then slowly escalating, but by at least initiating something, he could say that he is carrying out on the threat he made, that it's not just bluster. So it's either that, or he defers and delays it and saying that there's been an extension granted.
Now, the White House does say that the president is aware of Pakistan's proposal for a 2-week ceasefire. So that is now on the table. Pakistan got involved and says there's a proposal for a 2-week ceasefire. The White House notes, this is a quote, "A response will come." Again, we're down to under 2 hours until a response should happen, until that deadline comes and goes. What do you think that response will be?
A ceasefire will do nothing to bring the core issues of this war to a resolution. The United States has asked for an end to Iran's nuclear enrichment program, uranium enrichment program, 0%, not 3%, not 5 or 10, but 0. It's asked for an end to its ballistic missile program, which we've seen how damaging those missiles can be. And it's asked for an end to Iran's support for proxy groups. All three of those positions are non-starters. So any agreement, we can call it a ceasefire agreement, all it's going to do is basically put a hold, a pause on the fighting. When that ceasefire ends, and assuming it will, because the objectives the United States laid out at the start of this war will not have been met, then what? We're right back to where we started, which is why I'm not putting a lot of credit into the meaning and the durability of these ceasefires, or that they're really going to impact anything long term.
Where do you think we stand right now in that, we've heard that, President Trump says that we've destroyed the Navy, the Army there in Iran. If that's, let me just ask you that. Do you believe that? Do you believe that that has happened thus far?
I believe that Iran's defenses, its military, its armed forces have been severely degraded, whether they're wiped out or reduced to 25% of what they were. The impact is the same. Iran is not able to fight back using a conventional army or conventional means. Its ability to fight back is through asymmetric methods, like threatening ships in the Strait of Hormuz or in the Persian Gulf, or threatening Arab civilian facilities and infrastructure, effectively crippling all commerce and diplomacy in the region. That is where it's effective. So whether the Air Force or the Navy or its defenses are wiped out or not is irrelevant, because it's demonstrated, it could still impact the situation. It could still bring everything to a halt with these indiscriminate drone and missile attacks, oftentimes targeted to these civilian areas and energy infrastructure in the Arab states.
Can you speak to the current situation of what it's like in Iran right now? We've heard these reports that the Iranian regime is asking for people to form literal human chains, human fences, as this deadline approaches.
Yeah, and I think, the images we've seen, the one in particular across one of the bridges, the human chain is unfurling a giant flag of the Islamic Republic. I wouldn't treat this as anything more than an attempt by the regime to sort of coerce its followers or pressure its followers, or really bring out its own base to do something like this. That doesn't mean they're not civilians. They could be treated as civilians. I wouldn't take this as any broad support for what the regime is doing or its position on this war. We've seen this before in recent weeks, or even before the war started, where they would really bring out their supporters, their established base of hardcore followers in these sort of street demonstrations, showing that they have enjoyed broad public support. We know, or at least from the most recent surveys that we were able to get from Iran by a European group, upwards of 80% of the country's population is opposed to the regime and wants to see it reform. So I don't take these seriously, but nevertheless, yes, they are civilians. They are standing on these bridges, and I think it would give pause to the U.S. or Israel to consider striking those as legitimate targets.
Do you feel anxious, nervous, even as we approach the 5 p.m. deadline? How do you feel?
I appreciate that question, and that's a question that I'm seeing in the Iranian American diaspora here in Los Angeles. It's being asked by everyone, and I think I am not as anxious because I do not think that this president can carry through on that threat of complete destruction of civilization. I am reading it as a targeted attack on certain facilities meant to sort of evoke or provoke or to beget further escalation if that is necessary. Now, that escalation could happen. So ask me in 2 days if I'm anxious. I'm not right now. I'm anticipating. I'm waiting to see exactly what that strike will consist of, or if there's going to be a delay, a temporary extension, like I suggested. But no, I genuinely feel, and maybe this is just being optimistic, maybe this is hoping for the best, that this will really entail nothing more than limited strikes. But he's going to cross the line, meaning he will target infrastructure that the United States has yet to target. So I think that could happen.
When you say because he can't follow through with the whole civilization dying tonight, why can't he?
So I think that if there's anything that would push for a collapse of his support within the United States Congress and possibly even from within his own cabinet, I think this would be it. Now imagine worst case scenario, President Trump carries through on this threat to destroy a civilization. Let's assume the worst case. Let's assume that massive carpet bombing, devastation of all civilian areas and infrastructure. Worst case scenario. I can't imagine a universe where honorable principled men like Chairman of the Joint Chiefs Kane and others in the administration would not issue their resignation rather than be in a position to either carry through or defend basically what is genocide committed by a United States president. And I think that becomes the scenario where if these officials, the few that are in the cabinet who really predate the MAGA movement and whose, I think, commitment to the United States predates any sort of ideology that we've seen, I can see them basically refusing to do that and resigning. And you have a scenario then where who is going to carry out President Trump's orders knowing that effectively they are complicit in genocidal war crimes, which is basically what that post on Truth Social amounts to if it's done.
Okay, I think we are going to take just a quick 2-minute break here on the Fox Local Stream and then carry on our conversation right after that. Can you sit tight just for 2 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Benjamin Brad, UCLA political scientist, professor there on the campus. We'll be right back. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Political science professor Benjamin Brad. Let me get my thoughts in order here. From UCLA, he just joined us 2 minutes ago, starting at 3 o'clock, to talk about the president's threat for Iran if they don't meet that deadline by 5 p.m. tonight. The president threatening to wipe out the entire civilization in Iran. That's 93 million people, by the way. We didn't mention that in our conversation. Professor Rad had to jump off, so our conversation with him has ended. In the meantime, let's get some local reaction. LA, of course, is home to the largest Iranian population outside of Iran. Our Christina Gonzalez joins us now live from Westwood. That's where UCLA is, of course. By the way, Westwood has also been dubbed Tarantulous. That's always hard for me to say. Tarantulous. And Christina, you're talking to locals there, and what are you hearing?
Well, you know, and this is the hub. This is where we usually come and talk to people. And what I'm running into is, I mean, let me first show you around, because you see the flags everywhere. This is an area where people will usually talk to you. And what I'm running into is people don't want to talk, not on camera. They are literally afraid not only of their families getting targeted back in Iran by the Iranian law enforcement there, but also of themselves being targeted here, because no matter what they say, with all this rhetoric, things are just getting really difficult to speak about. So after spending all morning, one person who owns a market here did speak with us, and here's what he had to say.
I am so worried because they are going to bomb everywhere, power plant, water resources, everywhere.
Are you getting a sense, a lot of people were supportive at the beginning because it was a regime change. When they're talking about wiping out a civilization, it's a whole different thing. And do you think that's making a difference?
I am worried so much because this is not the way she should do it. He should, as I told you, give a weapon to the Persian people to fight for their own and elect their own government.
Yeah, and off camera, a lot of people are saying, look, they still support, they really want this regime gone. But when you start getting into the rhetoric of wiping out civilizations and things like that, it does put some people on edge. Everybody I talk to says they would prefer to see arms go to the Iranian people to fight this battle themselves. They don't want to see Americans getting caught up in this. But at the same time, they also know realistically, that is what it may take. But a lot of people worried, a lot of people not here today. Some stores were closed, people at home watching and trying to get through their loved ones in Starlink. We'll see what happens in the next few hours, but a lot of concern. And like I said, first time in a long time, people are afraid to speak out here. And that tells you something. Back to you, Marla.
I agree with you. I think that really does speak volumes, Christina, because when the U.S. took out the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, February 28th, that was, the local Iranians, they came out in Westwood at the federal building, and I mean, they were not quiet about it, and they cheered this. I went out there to get some interviews.
Yep.
Many of them. Let me just finish this.
And I just came from the federal building. I've driven by there a couple of times. Nobody's there.
I was going to ask that. I was going to get to, it doesn't seem like, because I was going to make the point that when I was out there, even in the joyous moment for them, many of them didn't want to go on camera because they were afraid, as you had said, about retaliation to their family members who were still in Iran. So they didn't go on camera. Nonetheless, there were many who did go on camera. You're not able to find many to talk to you on camera today. And I was going to ask, do you think that there's going to be similar demonstrations out there later today? But it doesn't seem like it if they're hunkered down at home.
I don't know. You know, I've been asking around because when I saw several stores closed, I said, hey, are you guys planning on something? And there is no plan for anything. I wouldn't be surprised if some people went out there at 5 o'clock. And, you know, it's when the deadline is supposed to be. It all depends on what happens. But there is a sense of fear that is really palpable at this point. And it's like you said, it's not only for their loved ones back there. Mm-hmm. It's for their reaction here, no matter what, which is kind of sad.
And did you really, businesses there, some of them are closed today because of this?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know if it's because of this, but it's funny. As I started, this area here is like there's an ice cream shop, there's coffee, there's
You're right on Westwood
Persian
Boulevard.
pizza. Here, yeah, and come around. I mean, when have you ever seen the Persian pizza empty? Okay, that's great pizza. There's always people out there. Nobody has been out there all morning. I have been waiting. The coffee shops are empty. Maybe later in the afternoon, but something is going on today for those of us who are here all the time, and we see that there's always somebody out here getting something, and it's just very, very quiet. And the places that are open, they're like, we don't want to talk right now. We don't want to talk right now. And it's sad. It really is. But people are also at home trying to use Starlink to get to their loved ones, and that is very iffy. I'm hearing the Starlink has been reasonably usable as a way to get through. Today, for some reason, people are having a really difficult time.
Interesting. Who else are you speaking to as you news gather for your report tonight at 5?
We have an artist, you may have heard of Shab. She is very well known in the Iranian community. She has been very vocal, very supportive of Trump. I actually got through to her via Zoom. We also today in LA, we had actually California Congress people. They were talking about the elections, and they ended up having to speak about this whole thing with the Iranian attacks. So we also caught up with some of them to hear what they had to say. Again, the rhetoric puts this, and we all know, we all understand that President Trump is very good at saying things that get reaction. Okay, the deadline is at 5 o'clock here, 8 o'clock, which is prime time. He knows what he's doing in order to push it to the limit and get the reaction. But one of the things that a lot of people are telling me who are supporters of Trump is that when you're talking about wiping out a civilization, that entails civilians. That entails our families. That's no longer a regime change. And that may be where people are getting really wary, and we're hearing a lot of that off camera, even as they continue to support Trump. And the people who don't support Trump, you can imagine, they're just, continuing saying what they're saying. But I don't get a sense that there's less support for Trump. I just think people are more wary because of the rhetoric right now.
Okay, well, we're about 94 minutes away until 5 p.m., so that's when that deadline arrives. We'll see. We'll continue to keep a watch. Christina Gonzalez will look forward to your report tonight at 5. Thank you. And for you here on the Fox Local Stream, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to the Fox Local Stream. I'm Marla Tejas in the Fox 11 studios in West Los Angeles, where it's coming up on 3:30 right now. We are talking about LA28 tickets to the Olympics, right? So LA28 says more than 5 million people worldwide signed up for the ticket draw. It's open right now for Angelenos if you got an email, but many say they're shocked by just how much the tickets actually cost. Our Haley Winslow, she joined us now live. Where are you? Oh, you're right in front of SoFi in Inglewood. What'd you find out and what's the reaction?
Well, one thing is for sure, the energy is electric. The talk of the town today, Marla, of course, everybody talking about LA28 and trying to snag tickets for the world stage. SoFi Stadium, one of many venues around town, going to host the big event. They're going to have the opening ceremony here. They're going to have a giant swimming pool. It's actually going to be the biggest swimming venue in the world. It's going to be pretty cool. A lot of people we talked to here at SoFi said that they didn't get tickets yet or they weren't planning on it. It's so expensive. Of course, we all thought, oh, there's going to be so many $28 tickets. Those definitely went fast. But the good news is there's more to come. They are planning to drop more inventory soon. So one really nice family we talked to just a few minutes ago, they spent $1,200 on 2 tickets. The only events that they could find that were in their price range were archery and track and field prelim, which is a non-medaled event. So on top of that, with the 20% in service fees, almost $1,300 that they're spending, and these weren't even the events that they were planning on going to. So definitely some disappointment. You know, gymnastics, of course, one of the big events everyone wants to see, swimming, and then men's basketball. Those seats went first. And this family registered last year. I mean, they were right on it, early bird ticket holders. And that is basically what they had to settle on. And I heard the same story from about 20 other people I talked to today, too. I don't have tickets to the Olympics yet, so I'm not speaking from firsthand knowledge, but I did talk to the LA28 team today, and they said that still available, about a quarter of the tickets are under $200 and about 75% of tickets under $500. And there are still those $28 tickets, they said. Mostly you've got to look for those prelim events, those non-medal events to find those, but they said there's tens of thousands of those left. So definitely there's a lot of buzz around this. And the good news, I guess my best advice for you would be to get your ticket today or tomorrow, because on Thursday, those seats open to the world stage. So right now it's only to locals and those who registered early, but starting on Thursday, it's going to be open to everybody. So you're going to be fighting a much bigger battle by then, and definitely a pretty penny. But I would say I'm already dressed. I'm 2 years early. Can you tell what team I'm rooting for?
Yes.
It's a little warm for this hat, but I'm ready to go.
We can always count on you. We can always count on you for something like this, Haley. We appreciate the extra flair.
Repping the red, white, and blue.
You know, I've heard from people here at Fox 11 Studios who they received their email, they logged on excited to purchase tickets, and were shocked that the tickets were $300, $400, $500. And, you know, the promised 28, LA28, it sounds good. You say, or they say, LA28 says that those tickets are still available. What are those tickets for, and how do you find them?
Those are mostly the prelim tickets. So the biggest tip that they gave me was to, when you filter the results to try to get your ticket, make sure that it says standard ticket to try to get the cheapest ones available. But they said that there's tens of thousands still available. If you want, I can actually read you the statement that I got from. Those are the non-medaled events. So like track and field preliminary. So before you get to the finals.
Okay.
There's a lot of events, of course, before then. So I can read you this if this helps you and you're trying to get a ticket. This is coming straight from the source just a couple of minutes ago from the LA28 spokesperson. So she says, as we closely track fan feedback, we want to emphasize our ongoing commitment to accessible and affordable tickets. We still have tens of thousands of tickets available for $28, more than a quarter available under $200. And over 75% are under $500, with additional inventory expected in future phases. When shopping for all sessions by sport or zone, keep the available standard tickets filter on to ensure that you're only seeing the tickets with available tickets. And if the finals of your preferred sport are not available, check out preliminaries of the same sport to join on the journey of the games. The other tip that I wanted to pass along is I did, of course, ask when those future drops are going to be, and they said they couldn't release that yet, but basically just to stay tuned. Of course, LA28 has its own website. We will, of course, keep you updated on Fox 11 and foxla.com. But yeah, too early to say, but they said there will be more tickets this month and then future ones as time progresses.
Okay, so when you are
That's
searching
everything
for
I
tickets,
know.
Okay, it sounds like it. We appreciate you reading the statement. So just to go over this one more time, if you are purchasing your tickets, make sure it says standard ticket. Those are the cheaper tickets.
Yes.
Standard tickets. Okay.
Yeah, when you can, you know how you can filter things. You can
Right.
probably do it just like with anything else, according to lowest to highest or highest to lowest. So when you see that filter drop down menu, make sure it says standard tickets. And, you know, I will say that it is once in a lifetime. You know, if you can afford it, or you can maybe cut back in other areas, you know, you have 2 years to plan for this. If you can maybe eat beanie weenies for a week or something and just kind of, you know, or maybe work an extra side job if you can. If you can do it, I mean, this is such a unique opportunity. I lived in Atlanta during the '96 Olympics, and we actually left town to try to get away from all the traffic and madness. I was obviously a kid, but I wish I had stayed, because I definitely think it's something that you'll never get that chance again, especially in your own hometown. So
Sure.
I'm hoping that I can still go in some capacity, or even just watch it. Other thing actually is, you know, Cosm right down the street from here, they always play those big events. That might be a place to grab a ticket if you can afford that. That huge screen. We watched the Dodgers World Championship there. It was incredible. You feel like the ball's coming right at you. And there will be tons of events all around town. There's actually a lot of free events too going on at the same time as the Olympics if you don't want to go to the game or you want to save the money. I know Grand Park is one of the places that's going to have screenings of the different sports, and that's free.
Yeah, and I mean, you make a good point that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, perhaps, but at the same time, when it's billed to you that you're a local, you're going to get first dibs in LA28. There's a lot of tickets that are $28, and they said that they still are out there. But then when you log on and there's, you know, a $400 ticket, and you have to buy for a family of 4, it's a lot of money. And you know, you can appreciate.
It is a lot of money.
You can
yeah.
appreciate the sticker shock and say, wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on?
Especially when, yeah, you didn't have it in your head that you're going to be going to a prelim event. You know, you thought you were going to be going to women's gymnastics or men's basketball, or at least, you know, track and field or some you know, big event. And you know, they do say that they're committed to the affordable and accessible tickets. They're also going to have their SVP on Good Day LA on Thursday with more information that they're not able to release today. So I would stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, I think it was definitely misleading, to say the least, according to the people we talked to today. But those $28 tickets are still available if you can do it. Even if it's a prelim event, do it today. Don't wait until Thursday. But Marla, did you get tickets? You're always right on top of everything.
You know what's funny, Haley?
You gotta be going somewhere. What?
No, I didn't register. I don't know.
Oh no.
I told that to my husband, and I don't know why I didn't. I had such a window. I'm reporting it on the news. It was one of those things that I intended to, and I let that fall. So
I'm embarrassed to say I did the same thing.
You know, I mean, it happens, right? Just juggling everything. But to your point, there should be another session, a window down the road, right, that we can go through this again.
Yeah, so they said when they do have those future inventory drops, they're going to have tickets for all the different sports and all the different ticket prices. So I imagine, hopefully that means the $28 tickets all the way up to some sports. Our new friend was telling us today, gymnastics was the cheapest he could find was $600, and the cheapest he could find for swimming was $800. If that was, and then some of the sports they looked at weren't even available. It was saying sold out, which it's not sold out, but that's what it says. So
yeah, that's
because they
too.
only have a certain amount of tickets currently available.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Haley, we appreciate it.
Come on, LA, we can do this.
Yeah, we can.
Right?
We'll look forward to your report tonight at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, yeah. See you then.
Okay, Haley, thanks. We have some local breaking news, and then we have some international breaking news that we want to get to. So producer Anaya, take a look at the wires while I tell people about this house fire. This is burning in Beverly Crest right now. We want to update you on this. This home is a massive home in Beverly Crest, and LAFD has about 100 firefighters on the scene right now. They're on top of the roof doing what they can. They say that these flames started in the attic. This home may have been under some heavy construction, or just that home itself is built with such heavy construction, which is also playing a part in the firefight as well. But now as Sky Fox sort of widens out, you can see when I talk about what a home this is. This is, when you think of quintessential Beverly Hills or Beverly Crest, this is one of those homes. It is massive. You see the pool in the background. Looks like a pool house, another property on the property itself, and it's in a beautiful neighborhood in Beverly Crest. So this fire is underway. No injuries to speak of, thank goodness. We don't know if anyone's home. We don't have that information just yet, but of course our team is working to get more information. But if you live on the west side, this may be visible with all the smoke that's rising from this attic fire burning in this massive home in Beverly Crest. We'll keep a watch on that and keep you posted. Now we want to get to some really important breaking news. This is just coming across the wire. So if you've been in a newsroom, which I'm sure many of you have not, this is the way it works. We get wires updates from Associated Press, for instance, or Reuters. And Reuters is now reporting that President Trump has agreed to, quote, suspend, let me read this, to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. So it sounds like he is agreeing to a ceasefire. That's the limited information that's coming across right now on the wires. So here we got another update. This one is from the Associated Press. Trump pulls back on his Iran threats for 2 weeks, subject to Iran agreeing to ceasefire and to reopen Strait of Hormuz. So it sounds like President Trump is now waiting for a response from Iran. As I'm looking at the time, it's 3:40. We are an hour 20 away from that ceasefire, or rather that deadline that was set in place by President Trump. So we can breathe a sigh of relief in that this idea of wiping out an entire civilization is not going to happen. We're talking about 93 million people, many civilians there in Iran. And that was the threat that Trump put out on his Truth Social today. We started our 3 o'clock stream talking about that with a political science professor from UCLA, and he said that it was both bluster and also believable. We know that President Trump is very good, and that's his sort of strategy, is to get your attention with hyperbolic statements like that. But if in fact the rhetoric of wiping out an entire civilization, we haven't heard that yet from a sitting president of late anyway. So it was shocking to a lot of people. Again, the news from the Associated Press and Reuters is that Trump is going to pull back on his Iran threats for 2 weeks, now waiting for Iran to agree to a ceasefire and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This is just coming across right now, so literally breaking news here on the Fox Local stream. As soon as we get some more updates, and maybe we'll hear from Iran before that 5 p.m. deadline, that's hopefully the case, then we can report that to you as well. Okay, with that said, let's move on to, I believe we're going to move on to this, some other local news that we're following. We're following developing news out of Stanislaus County, where ICE officers have shot a man near the I-5 freeway. This is helicopter video from our sister station, KTVU, showing the scene. It happened about 8:30 this morning. ICE says the man is an alleged gang member wanted for questioning in connection to a murder in Patterson. It's not clear when that happened. The department says after the traffic stop, he tried to run, and an ICE officer ran over, and that's when agents opened fire. He was taken to the hospital. No word on his condition. The FBI was also on scene. The shooting shut down part of the freeway. So that is one of the stories we're following here at Fox 11. Also, an employee in custody as the primary suspect in this massive fire at the Kimberly-Clark Distribution Center in Ontario. This was breaking news this morning on Good Day LA. Look at these images. Just wow. The 1.2 million square foot warehouse went up in flames about 12:30 this morning, so just after midnight near Eucalyptus and South Hellman Avenue. More than 140 firefighters responded to the scene from all across Southern California. About 20 employees were inside at the time, but thankfully they got out unharmed. Officials say the suspect was reported missing during the initial evacuation. He's now being accused of arson. The facility houses big quantities of household paper products like Kleenex and toilet paper. All right, the Fox Local Stream, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll see you on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to the Fox Local Stream. I'm Marla Tejas, 3:46 Pacific Coast time here in Los Angeles. I'm coming to you from the Fox 11 studios. We just broke the news that just came across the wires here that President Trump says Iran has proposed a workable 10-point peace plan that could help end the war. That little bit of information is crucial because that came after the fact that Trump says that will pull back on his Iran threats for 2 weeks, just as long as Iran agrees to a ceasefire and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It's yet to be seen if that 10-point peace plan proposed by Iran includes the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, we're going to look forward to that. And then President Trump, he took to Truth Social. And if we could just pull that up and I can read what I can here. I'm reading this for the very first time, so bear with me. It says, based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America, as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. And that was just sent about 13 minutes ago. So breaking news there. As we had approached that 5 p.m. deadline that President Trump had imposed for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz and then also agree to a deal that had to happen by 5 p.m. tonight, or else today he said on Truth Social that he was prepared to essentially kill a whole civilization, and that some 93 million Iranians in Iran. So at this point, it seems to be crisis averted. Of course, we're going to continue to watch this as the news comes in. But President Trump's Truth Socialism, checking the wires here, has the news that we were able to report just now, that he has agreed to suspend bombing and the attack on Iran. All right, more to come there. That's breaking news. And then this is something that we've been following on a much happier note, right? More history made in outer space. You've been with us perhaps as we've been watching the Artemis II crew, those astronauts and the crew aboard the International Space Station. So the crew on the ISS, those two teams, they made the first moonship to spaceship radio link up ever. So we have their entire conversation for you. Now, keep in mind, there's about a 7-second delay between each response. Take a listen.
We've been following along and have seen the incredible photos and heard some of your observations that you've been reporting.
Jeremy, we have been waiting for this like you can't imagine. Let me go check on our PFD. We are 201,726, now 25 nautical miles from planet Earth, which is just hard to believe. The scales are impossible to believe. And for the run of show this morning, I figured I'll say a quick hi, which I have done. I'll hand the microphone to fellow chump Jeremy. He can say a quick hi, and then we'll let you three 8-balls just get on with it. Yeah, thanks for giving me like a tiny bit of microphone time before the 8-balls get after it. But it's such a pleasure to be spending a little bit of time with our colleagues in space, and we talk so much up here, or we try to anyway, emphasize how important the work is that we're all doing in this program to do the types of things that get us ready to get back on the surface of the moon, and like the administrator was saying yesterday, onto Mars. And so we just appreciate you, and it's fun to be up in space with you at the same time.
We are so excited to be up here with you, and we had a couple of questions. We are wondering, we know how fortunate all of us are as humans to come up here and look down at the Earth from above. Every astronaut that comes to space remarks on that, and we really wanted to hear what that felt like, how different that felt now from your new perspective around the moon.
Well, I'll start by saying we do miss the ISS. The views there are awesome, being able to see specific places, being able to see your home specifically. So y'all's views are absolutely incredible, and I miss them every day almost. The thing that changed for me looking back at Earth was that I found myself noticing not only the beauty of the Earth, but how much blackness there was around it. And how it just made it even more special. It truly emphasized how alike we are, how the same thing keeps every single person on planet Earth alive. We evolved on the same planet. We have some shared things about how we love and live that are just universal. And the specialness and preciousness of that really is emphasized when you notice how much else there is around it.
That's really amazing to hear. It's been an incredible time getting to be here on station. I know you guys have had a lot of that same experience, and we were super curious. Like what you're carrying forward from your time training for and flying on ISS to the moon.
Well, the Navy pilots were carrying on one that heard the question. I'll go ahead and respond. Actually, Chris, it was awesome to watch you and Jessica go out on a spacewalk. I was lucky enough to sit console for your suit up, and I was just filled with pride, but it also really reinstilled in me those flight operations principles that we live by in a real-time, high dynamic, and risky environment. So having that kind of impressed in my mind right before this flight was huge. And basically every single thing that we learned on ISS is up here. And then, of course, there's the funny and practical, how to eat, how to do silly things with water, how to flip around. We're bringing that with us, too.
And I just got to add, C-Dub, right before you launched, you said you can't wait to talk to us on the space to ground, and it is happening, brother. I cannot believe it.
Face to face, we said.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, I remember having coffee and sitting with you guys just before I left to fly up here, and it's just so awesome being able to talk to you right now. It's such a special opportunity.
And we had another question, because now you're in a little capsule that is your home, and although this is a test flight and so everything is new, what surprised you in your journey so far? We know that Weed really likes it up there.
It's really great to hear your voice up here. I can't tell you how fun this event is for us. I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we are. I don't mean to give you such a short answer, but I can truly say everything. From the core stage ignition, solids lighting, to getting into a new orbit, even right after 8 minutes of boosting on the core stage, to then the translunar injection, to flying by the moon. This entire journey has been interesting, but also applying some of the lessons from station in a much smaller volume, how we move around and eat. Those things have also been surprising, because the difference between ISS and here is we don't have another module to deconflict, and so everything we do essentially starts with a spatial conflict, and we have to take the time to work it out in every activity. And so we've been just having fun working through that.
Thank you so much, Victor. That was such a good answer. We laughed all here hearing your answer. Thank you so much.
All right, my turn, and I'm excited to talk to you guys. It's been awesome up here. Being rookie it's been such an awesome experience, having a great crew. I know you guys have a tight bonded crew as well. Jessica dared me to grow a mustache all during training, and I came through on that. So I'm kind of curious what kind of fun you guys had in your training and on your flight here that's been keeping you guys smiling.
I just had a process escape on my water training up here, and I left the PWD valve open a little bit too long. Now, I will say, I'm not the only one to have done this, but I do have the record so far for the largest process escape on the water training failures.
Well, we can tell that you guys are definitely experiencing moon joy, and I feel like even we are experiencing moon joy right now. I think this also sounds like a great band name, so we can't wait for you to drop your first album.
I got a question for you, but the quick story I wanted to tell you is you were asking what it's like here compared to International Space Station, and I'm just going to relate a very quick funny story. Heading into our translunar injection burn, we're coming out of 38,000 miles, coming down to a 100-mile perigee to do that burn, and when we were about 5,000 or 6,000 miles up from the Earth, looking at the entire Earth just growing rapidly in the window, Jeremy turns around to us and goes, "I'm not sure. I think we're going to run right into it." And we were all dying laughing. And it was the most fascinating thing to watch, that Earth and we actually ended up TLIing on the upper half of the earth, and we thought we were going to TLI on the bottom half of the earth. Like, that is the perspective we had, and then the vehicle reoriented and we went. So it is crazy up here, and it does bend your mind. So question for you guys, I'm looking around the Integrity spacecraft right now. We're rehydrating some sweet and sour chicken. We've got some Kona with cream. We've got some butternut squash, and spicy green beans. So it's all the same food. We want to know, what are you eating, and we're going to mirror you today.
So I had spicy green beans for lunch, and I've been loving seeing all of the things about you guys having the same food. It's fantastic.
I had a mango salad this morning. I think you have this on board too. Oh, Nana, I know you love that mango salad just like I do.
Yep, there's a mango salad on the deck right now.
Well, I hope I'm not talking over somebody, but I wanted to say a couple things to my Astra sister, Jessica. One, sorry to steal your next spacewalk day, everybody, but thank you for cheering us along anyway. And Jessica, I always hoped we would be in space again together, but I never thought it would be like this. It's amazing. Congratulations to you on being commander, and I hope you have an amazing
color. While Republicans are expecting Democrats to just sit idly by as they attempt to steal yet another election, Democrats are getting out in the community, raising the alarm bells about the GOP's efforts to rig these elections and fighting back in the courts, in Congress, and in our communities. We won't let Republicans get away with their anti-democratic and un-American schemes. I look forward to hearing from our experts about the impact these Trump-led efforts to suppress the vote could have, and to learn more about what we can do to safeguard our elections and Americans' right to vote and make their voices heard. Thank you, Ranking Member Morelli.
Thank you so much for not only those eloquent comments, but also your leadership in the House and all that you do.
I know that's a joke. We were busy doing science, but we had that same conversation. It was a lot of fun. I don't know how much longer we have here, but from the 4 members of the spacecraft Integrity, we really want to just say our deepest appreciation to the 7 members of the International Space Station, and this has been a true treat. It takes the entire world to do amazing things like this, and to get to come together as this group of people and talk for just a minute at these distances. We are all off the planet Earth right now, and we're all going to go home to that planet, and that is a very special thing. So thank you all for tying in.
Thank you, Reed. Well, beautiful words, and yeah, from here.
And Integrity Houston, ISS is doing a teacher's handover. They'll be back with you shortly.
We are loving all 4 of you from here, from the space station in low Earth orbit. We'll keep the fires burning here.
and we'll keep carrying the fire. Thanks, guys. Over and out.
Thank you, guys. International Space Station, over and out. Made our day to talk to you.
All fascinating to hear. Now, NASA's Apollo crews did not have off-the-planet company back in the 60s and 70s, which was the last time humanity was deep in space, meaning they didn't have the ISS crew to talk to as well, like Artemis 2. Now, that team is now headed back to Earth. Here's a live picture. It's expected to splash down in the Pacific Ocean on Friday. Now, how far has it traveled since yesterday when it made history? If you recall, it got about 4,000 miles away from the moon. Today, it's about 50,000 miles away from the moon. So if you do the math, it's traveled more than 40,000 miles in the last 24 hours. Just fascinating. Okay, let's take you back to the breaking news in Beverly Crest of this house fire at this massive home. We'll call it a mansion here. So live pictures from two different angles here. The bigger picture. That's from our photojournalist Sam Dubin from the ground. He is giving you our first look of the ground shot there as firefighters are making their way out of the property. The firefight continues, obviously, thanks to our live pictures from Skyfox, the smaller picture with that black smoke billowing out from that massive home in Beverly Crest. Don't know what started this, but fire crews say that this started in the attic, and there's proof of it with our live pictures. We saw a whole bunch of those firefighters. There's about 100 on scene on the roof as they were trying to get a handle on the flames shooting out of the roof in the attic there. And now from the ground, thanks to Sam, we're seeing the crews there on the making entry of the home. Not sure if this is the actual front entrance of the home. You see the gates there. It is a massive property, just a massive property in Beverly Crest, and most of the homes up there are. So it is surrounded by some other mansions in the area. So far, the flames are just at this home. They have not spread, thank goodness. No word of any injuries. We don't know if the homeowner was home at the time, but still plenty of active flames. But you just judge by the posture of the firefighters, and they don't seem to be too concerned as much as those flames are burning right now, seemingly out of control. I'm not a firefighter, so they are the professionals. They are getting this under control the best that they can. This is something we will continue to watch, and we'll update you tonight on the Fox 11 News. And in the meantime, we're going to wrap our coverage here on the Fox Local Stream coming up at 4:05 West Coast time. We thank you so much for being with us, and check back with us on Fox 11 for the latest as it relates to the breaking news involving the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. More to come tonight. Thanks for being with us on the Fox Local Stream. I'm Marla Tejas.